For most of the 20th century, air superiority was considered the ultimate key to victory in war. Military planners believed that whoever controlled the skies could shape the battlefield below at will. Aircraft could strike deep behind enemy lines, destroy supply routes, eliminate leadership, and support ground forces with overwhelming firepower. From World War II through the Cold War and into the early 21st century, air dominance became synonymous with military success. This belief was not without reason. History seemed to confirm it again and again. Nations that lost control of the air often found their armies isolated, their logistics shattered, and their morale broken. Air power enabled rapid offensives, protected friendly forces, and imposed constant pressure on the enemy. For decades, it appeared that air superiority was not just an advantage, but a decisive one. Yet modern warfare has changed. While air power remains important, it no longer guarantees victory. Control of the skies, once seen as the final step toward success, has become only one factor among many. In today's conflicts, air superiority can coexist with strategic failure. Understanding why requires examining how the battlefield itself has evolved. The traditional model of air dominance was built around large-scale, conventional wars. Armies maneuvered in open terrain. Supply lines were visible. Command centers were fixed. Targets were clearly defined and easily identified from above. Aircraft were uniquely suited to exploit these conditions. They could locate concentrations of forces and strike them with precision or overwhelming force. Modern conflicts rarely follow this pattern. Today's wars are often fought in complex environments. Cities, forests, mountains, and dense civilian infrastructure dominate the battlefield. Opposing forces disperse rather than concentrate. They avoid predictable movement and rely on concealment rather than mass. These conditions reduce the effectiveness of airstrikes, even when the attacking force controls the skies. Targets are no longer large formations moving across open ground. They are small units, operating independently. They blend into civilian areas, use underground structures, and exploit terrain to hide from sensors. Air power struggles against enemies, who present few visible targets, and accept dispersion as a form of protection. At the same time, the concept of air superiority itself has changed. In the past, controlling the air meant denying the enemy the ability to fly, while retaining freedom of action for friendly aircraft. Today, many forces no longer aim to dominate the skies. Instead, they seek to deny air superiority altogether. Air denial focuses on making air operations dangerous, costly, and constrained. This does not require matching an adversary's air force. It requires forcing aircraft to operate cautiously, at higher altitudes, or from greater distances. Modern air defense systems enable this approach. Man-portable air defense missiles, mobile surface-to-air systems, and integrated radar networks have become more accessible and more capable. These systems are harder to locate and destroy than traditional fixed defenses. They can relocate quickly, operate intermittently, and exploit the limitations of airborne sensors. As a result, aircraft can still fly, but their freedom of action is reduced. They must avoid certain areas. They must rely on standoff weapons rather than close support. Each mission carries increased risk, and each loss carries enormous consequences. Cost plays a critical role in this shift. Modern aircraft are among the most expensive weapons ever built. A single fighter jet can cost tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. Training a pilot takes years. Maintenance requires advanced facilities and specialized personnel. Every aircraft represents a significant investment of resources and time. By contrast, many air denial systems are relatively inexpensive. A missile that costs a fraction of an aircraft's price can force that aircraft to change its behavior, or abandon a mission entirely. Even if no aircraft is destroyed, the threat alone imposes limitations. Air superiority becomes fragile when the cost of losing it is so high. This imbalance encourages caution. Pilots fly higher to avoid threats. They strike from longer distances. They limit time over contested areas. These adaptations increase survivability, but they also reduce effectiveness. Precision suffers. Responsiveness decreases. The ability to influence rapidly changing ground situations declines. Drones have further complicated the equation. Unmanned systems now fill the airspace at all levels. They provide persistent surveillance, track aircraft movements, and identify patterns of operation. Bases, runways, and logistics hubs become visible targets. The element of surprise, once a cornerstone of air power, is increasingly difficult to achieve. Drones also support air denial indirectly. They guide air defenses, provide early warning, and help coordinate ground-based responses. The sky is no longer an empty domain controlled by a few high-performance platforms. It is a crowded environment, filled with sensors, threats, and competing systems. Another limitation of air superiority lies in what air power cannot do. Aircraft can destroy targets, but they cannot occupy territory. They cannot secure neighborhoods or control populations. They cannot enforce political outcomes on their own. Victory ultimately depends on ground forces and governance. In many modern conflicts, airstrikes achieve impressive tactical results without producing strategic success. Facilities are destroyed, vehicles are eliminated, yet the enemy adapts, disperses, and continues to operate. Without effective ground operations and political solutions, air power alone cannot end a conflict. This reality has become increasingly clear in prolonged wars, where one side maintains air dominance but fails to achieve decisive outcomes. Air superiority may prevent defeat, but it does not guarantee victory. It can limit the enemy's capabilities without eliminating them. Modern warfare has become multi-domain by necessity. Success depends on coordination between air, ground, cyber, electronic, and information operations. Each domain supports the others, but none is decisive on its own. Over-reliance on any single advantage creates vulnerability. Air power must now be integrated rather than dominant. It supports ground maneuver rather than replacing it. It shapes conditions rather than determining outcomes. This represents a fundamental shift in military thinking. Adaptation has become the defining factor. Forces that learn quickly, exploit technology creatively, and adjust tactics rapidly gain advantage. Those that rely on outdated assumptions risk failure, regardless of their technological superiority. The belief that air superiority guarantees victory belongs to a different era. Today's battlefield is too complex, too contested, and too adaptive for any single domain to dominate completely. Control of the skies remains valuable, but it is no longer decisive by itself. Modern warfare rewards balance rather than dominance. It favors integration over specialization. It punishes rigidity and rewards flexibility. Air superiority is still an important tool, but it is no longer the final answer. Victory now belongs to those who understand that war is no longer won from the air alone. It is won through coordination, resilience, and the ability to adapt faster than the enemy. In this environment, air superiority is an advantage, not a guarantee.